Once you've learned how to cast on, you can now do the knit stitch. When you have your stitches casted on, you want to make sure that all of your bumps are in a straight line. If you have them twisted up, you won't be able to knit properly. So align them up so that they're straight, holding the needle in your left hand and having all of the bumps facing towards the right. Now take your needle in your right hand, making sure that you are not using your tail, holding that out of the way. You want to insert the needle through the first loop on your left hand needle. Take your working yarn and you want to wrap it around your finger for tension. Some people like to wrap it around their pinky. I use my index finger. It really doesn't matter. You just want to have some sort of tension holding your working yarn so that your stitches will stay even. So your needle is through your first stitch. Bring the yarn behind and then towards you in between the two needles. If you look down at the center, it almost looks like you're making a figure 8. You now want to take that figure 8 that you made, that stitch, that piece of yarn is going to create your first stitch. Take your needle from your right hand, go down through the stitch, and then bring it off of your left hand needle. Insert your yarn through the loop, bring your working yarn behind and in between both, down and off the other needle. Through, around, towards you, down and off. Going through, bringing it around, down and off. One more time. Through, around, down and off. Now a lot of times new knitters get to that last stitch and don't know what to do. You actually do want to knit that stitch also. So through, around, down and off. And essentially what you just did was transfer all of the stitches from the left needle onto your right needle. Now you're ready to do your next row. Put the needle with all of the stitches back into your left hand. You're going to take your empty needle now in your right hand and you want to go into the next stitch. Now another common mistake that beginners make is instead of inserting the needle through the stitch, which you can tell is the stitch because it will pull on your working yarn, they will accidentally insert the needle through the bump that was created from the previous row. What that will do is add stitches onto your knitting and your knitting will grow into an odd, funky sort of way. And you don't want to do that. Another good tip to do is to count the number of stitches you have every so often to make sure that your rows remain even. So you're going to insert your needle through that first stitch. And again, if you're not sure, just give it a little tug and you'll see that it's attached to your working yarn. And you're going to do the exact same thing. Bring your yarn through in between both needles, bringing the needle down and off. Into the stitch, around, back down through the same hole, and off. Through, around, down, and off. Through, around, down, and off. When you get to the end of the row, simply switch needles and hands, and you can see that your knitting is starting to grow. And you'll just begin your next row the exact same way, repeating as you did for the previous row. And that is how you do the knit stitch.